Welcome YouTube, this is Acid Root, so we're going to get to reviewing Eminem's latest project, Music to Be Murdered By. Now, basically a lot had happened between this project and Kamikaze. I mean, Eminem was kind of trying to get back his foothold after a uh, couple mixed reception type projects. I think it's almost universal at this point that Revival was just not a good album, but then really as quickly as he put out Kamikaze, it just didn't seem to have that reach. And I reviewed that back in April, and I kind of was like, okay, this is decent. This restores Eminem's legacy a little bit, but it was not like a must have. And that was kind of the way I thought about it. It was short, and if you wound up liking more than two or three songs, it kind of felt like a disappointment considering that there was only like 12 or 13 songs on there. So that's kind of the thing there. But this album's longer. Music to Be Murdered By is longer. It has basically a lot of the stuff that folks complain about with Eminem. I mean, Dr. Dre is on here. He has guests on here. He talks about some okay topics on here. So there's just a variety of things. Um, it kind of seems like Eminem is just kind of being Eminem, but I have noticed something that he kind of carries as like a theme on this project. He really seems to be liking his twista flow, and he kind of does that a lot on here. But then I realized that paying attention to that, like Eminem had his accents on Relapse, and he kind of did similar things to that on Encore, and then he rap serious and did like pop rap on Recovery. So it was just kind of, I feel like the twist of flow that he's kind of doing on this project. I don't know if it's going to be on every album from now on, but he does it frequently. He really wants to try to show that he can rap quickly and annihilate like the flow, I guess you would say. But it's not really so much that that's what I'm paying attention to. I mean, I know Eminem can kill a beat at this stage, and that's basically what the theme of this project is about. But I kind of liked it when he slowed it down and just, did what he normally does with syllables. I mean, he's so good at doing that, and he's been able to do it since 1999. So it's kind of like a new shtick that you get this time. But unfortunately, the promotion for this project was relatively weak. It just kind of came and went. It was basically just like a couple months, almost a few weeks of 2020 that Eminem promoted this project, and then shit wrapped up. I mean, last I remember, he did like the Grammys, where I mean, he was there for that, but he didn't. I don't think he performed songs from this. And then, of course, because of coronavirus, that kind of halted the promotion of this album. But he did do a Godzilla contest where he encouraged his fans to see if they could rap as quickly and kind of lip sync to what he was doing and see if they could do it as well as he performed on the track, because he gets pretty fast, and they were saying that it broke some Guinness World Records or something, which is Twista and folks like that. I'm thinking maybe uh, I can't really think of people who can rap fast. I mean, Logic can kind of rap fast a little bit, but um, so that this is like the main thing. So Eminem tries some new tricks, and I can actually say on this project that the production is not terrible. And it's not like Eminem is a vouch for that, but this is another album that's actually better than Recovery in terms of production, but it doesn't have Dr. Dre involved. I mean, Dr. Dre is on here, but he chooses to mostly just produce like the intros and the interludes and stuff, which is kind of a disappointment, but I did kind of like his production on a couple songs, so I'll talk about those. He does the Premonition intro, which is pretty slick. I'm starting to like intros more, and it's kind of creepy, but it's still kept somewhat commercial. So it's not quite Twisted and Tech Nine level, but it's close. So it's a nice touch on that. But Eminem's just mostly talking about the fact that he thinks his critics and haters are gonna hate on him regardless. So, which I almost would have. I mean, I walked into this album thinking I wasn't gonna like it, so I'm glad that it was a pleasant surprise. But the other song that Dr. Dre produced, or actually there's a couple more, Lil Engine and then Lock It Up. Lock It Up is a really good beat. It's probably the best beat on this project. Was surprised by it. Anderson Paak's on here, and he's been collaborating with Dr. Dre. That was a nice touch just to see what Dr. Dre's up to. Didn't really like Lil Engine, was kind of a disappointment, but that's the only two Dr. Dre beats. So I don't know when we're gonna. It's at least in for old time's sake you get Eminem and Dr. Dre, but you have to realize that it's not like the point of this project. And actually, I admit that there are beats on here that have like a solid hit to them, and sometimes there's just a. We'll get to it. So yeah, so another theme on here is the fact that Eminem has guests, and he not just guest hooks like Ed Sheeran and Juice World, but also he has people like Royce the 5'9" who shows up on here 3 times. He recruits most to Slaughterhouse and Young M.A., and there might be like someone else. But yeah, there's Q-Tip and Black Thought. So yeah, there's some folks. There are guests on here. And the thing about it is it's kind of reaching a point. I'm glad Eminem ventured outside of his comfort zone to kind of see who would mesh well with him, because it's not always as if Eminem is just the complete obvious best, and that's a good thing because I've noticed Royce the 5'9" has sharpened his game and he can keep up with Eminem. I mean, there's still like uh, a, a one or two steps in between Eminem and Royce the 5'9", meaning Eminem's a little bit better, but they're at least both lyricists and they can kind of go back and forth and spar and just have fun on the songs. And those are some good songs. I mean, the only real song I didn't like from the Royce the 5'9" collabos that Eminem did with him was You Go and Learn, which that kind of got a little bit too soulful, but it just didn't handle it that well. I'm going to make that like an almost song, a song I'm kind of on the fence about, but it wasn't like a song I'd immediately go for. I was really hoping that Royce would have shown up on a song like Godzilla or Those Kind of Nights or Darkness or something like that. But those, I mean, most of the moments that are like commercial or have like a lot of social presence, like these seem like the club ready and performable hits Eminem does by himself. But I do at least one of my favorite songs on here was the song Na Na. So or Ya Ya, that has Royce the 5'9", Black Thought, and Q-Tip. One of the best beats on here. I'm glad Mr. Porter came through. That's an old D12 producer, and he's part of D12. So that was good to see. Uh, so yeah, so I guess we'll talk about the singles now. So the first single was Darkness, which basically just talks about the Las Vegas killer from 2017. At the time, as of 2017, that was the biggest killing that had happened, and obviously with things like Columbine and that sort of stuff, it was kind of like wow, and obviously for stuff, YouTubers and this sort of stuff, we're breaking barriers and breakthroughs, but for the average lackadaisical fellow who is just only watching television, that Las Vegas thing was still pretty large. And no disrespect to the people who were a part of it, but you just have to understand that that was an interesting angle for Eminem to kind of encounter that sort of thing. So it's like, yeah, I mean, you look at it and it's I like the production on here. I like how Eminem kind of goes into the mind of that. And it's at first I didn't like this song, but it's creepy. I mean, that's the thing. It fits with the theme of what he's trying to accomplish. And then Godzilla is the second single, and that's the rest of the promotion for the project. And Juice World does a terrific job on the hook. I felt like this was more his song than Eminem's. Eminem was just trying to annihilate the song. It's kind of what Eminem was up to circa 2020. And the whole problem with it is just the fact that I mean the beat was okay, but it could have been better. I feel like it's a little bit pop rap. Maybe that's what it was intending to be. It's kind of like a lighter version of Rap God. I mean, Eminem went in on Rap God, but it's just more like it's. I mean, there are better singles. I liked Eminem's approach on like the Real Slim Shady and Without Me compared to Godzilla. Um, it worked for what it was, but I would have preferred something a little bit with more edge and underground feel to it. I mean, Eminem can pull off underground, and he can make underground kind of mainstream. So I was hoping he would have went for that, but it doesn't really do that. This tries to be commercial rap with like a tinge of trap attached to it, and wasn't really feeling that. So I like the song, but it's not one of the best Eminem singles I've heard, and it's not one of the first ones I'd go for. So now to talk about like the rest of the songs. So there wound up being like 10 songs or three. Yeah, there wound up being 11 songs out of 17 that I wound up enjoying. So I'll go ahead and list those for you. So, songs I recommend to you are Premonition, Darkness, Marsh, Lock It Up, No Regrets, Those Kind of Nights, Godzilla, I Will, Ya Ya, Leaving Heaven, and Unaccommodating. So a lot of this has some stuff on here. To talk about a bunch of these, I felt like some of my favorites were the commercial kind of, not so much commercial in like pop rap sense, but just more in like underground kind of with that nasty, almost horrorcore, but then more just underground kind of feel. It's kind of like what Tech Nine's doing now. Eminem kind of does that, and he gets back to that. I don't feel like Godzilla was like that, but it was close. It was a little bit above the line in terms of commercial, but it's pretty close to underground. So that's kind of the thing. So, but here's some songs that I have to say. Those Kind of Nights with Ed Sheeran, that's Eminem on a club song. I was like, damn, Eminem goes out to the bar, goes out to the dance club, goes out to like the strip club, that sort of stuff. That was a perfect song for that sort of thing. Ya Ya was another one, and then that has guests on there. It's a good crew to sit there and go out and have a night with. And those were some of the commercial ones. I would have to throw in Godzilla. This is a lot more, uh, like I've said, this is a lot more commercial to it, but it's still a decent up tempo song for Eminem. And most of the time, he doesn't do stuff like that. So this is kind of he's more concentrated on just killing the beat. But those three songs for Nights Out are pretty damn good. And Leaving Heaven is kind of like I feel like Skylar Grey is like the chick to turn to anytime you want to get a taste of recovery again, because she's been doing this for several albums now, even like Shady 15 and stuff like that. I think she was on that, but Marshall Mathers LP2, that's what she did, and Revival, that's what she did, and she's on this project. So she also co-wrote like Love the Way You Lie on Recovery. So it's like every time you just that's a taste of recovery there. And then I also felt like No Regrets was another taste of recovery. So there's taste of recovery. There's not really any taste of relapse. It just feels like, I mean, this is new Eminem. It has tastes of recovery to kind of do what needs to be done for like pop and that sort of thing, but it doesn't really try to do like dark too much dark. I mean, this is concentrated on like you know taking care of the lyrics, but then also, well, it's kind of difficult to describe. I mean, really, I felt like this project, in terms of ranking it with the rest of Eminem albums, it's strange because it's good Eminem. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, he outdid himself on this project. This is his best project since like Recovery. I feel like, I mean, I've tried so many times to listen to Marshall Mathers LP2, and there's just a lot of stuff that was just not polished like production on there, so I couldn't quite get into it. I did like Bad Guy and songs like that, but it was just all over the place. So this is the best one. This outdoes Revival and Kamikaze combined, Shady 15, Southpaw soundtrack, uh, the the Slaughterhouse album, and probably Bad Meets Evil. So that's like a whole bunch of stuff that this project outdoes. It's one of the best since Recovery. This is kind of the thing. So yeah, some out of those 11 songs I recommended, here are some ones I'd immediately go for. So I'd have to say Darkness, no or Darkness, Lock It Up, Those Kind of Nights, uh, Ya Ya, and I guess Godzilla would be some of those. Those are like the immediate ones that have the best production and that sort of thing. But this is kind of the thing. I mean, you look at it, and there's an overabundance of good Eminem tracks on here, and I mean, it's not like he slacks on the lyrics. He just really messes with his flow a lot, and that's this kind of thing. It's just like, I mean, Eminem will do that, and it's like I said, it's kind of like what he did with Relapse, kind of like what he did with Encore. He just has his shtick that he's kind of focused on this time. But if that doesn't get on your nerves, this is actually an overtly good Eminem project. So yeah, it works to that end. And I'd say the social score, I'll just give like a 6 out of 10, is because it had two singles that were good, but it just ended too soon. I wouldn't have known what Eminem would have promoted after that. I probably would have went with the Ed Sheeran song. I definitely think I like the idea of Eminem being on like club songs and kind of cutting loose a little bit more, even though he's like so, sobering and completely stone cold sober these days. But it's a nice touch, for bars and that sort of stuff. So that's how it works. Oh yeah, the score. I'll give this album an 8.5 out of 10. I mean, there were 5 songs I didn't like. If it would have been one less, I would have given it like a 9. So basically, I didn't really care for the outros and intros either. So I just would have to say it's an 8.5, which is damn near almost at the point of being some of the best stuff he's done. But if I would have liked You Go and Learn a little bit more, I probably would have given it higher. But that's basically like I'm just trying to look. It's one, two. It's like 6 songs out of 17 that I wound up not liking. That's like why I say 8.5. But yeah, so best Eminem project since like Recovery.